kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome everyone to episode 126 of the Rotten Views podcast. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today or this evening, whenever you guys are listening to this, and thank you for coming back for another episode. I don't know why you're coming back, but I appreciate it nonetheless, and hopefully this will be a fun episode for you guys. I know I had a lot of fun watching the movie. It's been a while since I watched it, but I want to say thank you for everyone who's been sharing the podcast, leaving reviews, leaving comments, and all that other fun stuff. I appreciate the reviews on Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatever you want to call it, and the ratings on Spotify as well. I appreciate it all. Hopefully you all are having a great New Year so far, and if you are one of the lucky few that doesn't have to deal with snow, you guys are lucky bastards you are. But that's alright. Hopefully if you are having snow and you're staying inside, you're listening to the podcast and staying warm. Nonetheless, we are going to get right into the movies for today, which is episode 126 of the Rotten Views podcast, where we're watching and talking about Men in Black from, what year was it? 1997. It's a PG-13 movie for an hour and 38 minutes. You can watch it right now on the CTV app for free. You don't have to log in or anything, so that's kind of cool to have. It's directed by Barry Sonnenfeld, who also did the other Men in Black movies. He also did Wild Wild West and Addams Family Values from 1993, so he kind of likes working with Will Smith. He's also a producer on the Tick TV series from 2016 to 2019. That's another thing that's on my watch list because I like the Tick a lot. He's a cartoon character that I grew up always watching. He's like neck to neck with Earthworm Jim for me. They're both two spoofs, I guess you could say, superheroes. So definitely really enjoy that. Also, if you guys haven't seen this movie, I don't know who hasn't, but you know your two leads are Tommy Lee Jones and Will Smith. Then you also got Rip Torn in there. You got Vincent D'Onofrio. I think I said that last name right. And then you got Tony Shalhoub or whatever his name is from Monk. I believe it's a guy from Monk. I never watched that show, so I didn't really care much for his character. But that's besides the point. But yeah, this movie was released on July 2nd, 1987. It has a box office budget of, it's got a budget of $90 million, which is crazy. But it has a box office of $589.4 million. So, you know, that's pretty good chunk of change right there. It's distributed by Sony Pictures and Columbia Pictures. It's got 7.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 91% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 71% on Metacritic. 87% of Google users like this movie. Quick synopsis, because I'm not going to read the IMDb one because it's super short for some reason. But the one off Google, they are the best kept secret in the universe, working for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency, K&J, are the Men in Black, providers of immigration services and regulators of all things alien on Earth. While investigating a series of unregistered close encounters, the MIB agents uncover a deadly plot of intergalactic terrorists who is on a mission to assassinate two ambassadors from opposing galaxies currently residing in New York City. This podcast hopefully will go well. I feel like I think I'm slowly getting sick because my daughter was sick for a little bit. So hopefully I'm feeling that little roughy, scratchy feeling in the back of my throat. Shouldn't be no big deal. But, every now and then I'm going to have to pause, edit it a little bit just so, I can get a drink of water and whatnot. Which, if you guys haven't, I got some G Fuel. We got the Super Meat Boy flavor. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, which is actually cinnamon flavor. Definitely highly check that out. Recommend checking it out. I'm not getting any money for it, but I'll probably have a link down below. Maybe we'll see. I'm not gonna throw anything down you guys' throat. Yeah, unless I can get sponsorship. Hey G Fuel, just saying. But anyways, we're gonna get right into the movie because I don't think there's really too much. I guess we can talk about the spoofs and stuff that we usually do. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's been a long day. I'm trying to get my bearings together, and my computer is running super slow, which is just kind of kind of trick. Taglines are protecting the Earth from the scum of the universe. It's an action-adventure comedy sci-fi movie. Apparently, Vincent D'Onofrio researched his role as Edgar by watching a lot of bug documentaries. In order to achieve his character's distinctive walk, he put a knee brace so he couldn't bend his legs and taped up his ankles. Now that's some effort putting into the character acting there. Apparently a goof in the opening scene, which is set in Arizona. We see New York license plates on the cars. However, it is possible that the MIB drove from New York to one of those states as the guys were bringing immigrants over the border. Yeah, I guess it's possible, you know. Highly unlikely, but it's still possible nonetheless. I also wanted to say we're going to get right into the movie now. Of course, like always I say, it's going to be full of spoilers. I'm going to talk about the movie from start to end, pretty much hit all the points in between. So if you guys haven't seen this movie, you feel free to pause right now, pull up the, download the CTV app, go on there. You can watch it for free. That's where I watched it. You get some ads, of course, but you can't complain. It's free. But yeah. Pause it, come back to the podcast a little bit later. Hopefully, you do come back to the podcast because I appreciate it. I know you probably just watched the movie if you did pause it, but I appreciate it if you come back. I also want to say,
And now, preview time. When it comes to entertainment, you can't beat a good film. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
The following program is brought to you in living color.
Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures.
We work for a highly funded yet unofficial government agency.
We'll take it from here.
Who the hell are you? INS Division 6.
There is no Division 6.
Our mission is to monitor extraterrestrial activity on Earth.
You're all here because you're the best of the best, and we're looking for one of you.
Hey! What's up? I want to get some coffee. You want some coffee?
No, thank you. I'm fine.
Hey, fellas. You guys get along all right?
All right, I'm in.
From now on, you will have no identifying marks of any kind. You are no longer part of the system. We are the Men in Black.
You know what the difference is between you and me? I make this look good.
Series 4 deatomizer.
That's what I'm talking about.
Noisy cricket.
I feel like I'm gonna break this damn thing.
Oh, it gets better.
Dad, we have a bug.
Unlimited technology from the whole universe, and we cruise around in a Ford POS.
Fasten your seatbelt.
See, now we got to work on your people skills.
Columbia Pictures and Amblin Entertainment present.
I knew it. This is an alien, and you guys are from some government agency trying to keep it under wraps.
Nah.
Tommy Lee Jones.
I'm gonna count to 3.
He'll do it, Jeeves.
1.
I'm telling you, that man does not look stable.
2.
He's always crazy. Why don't you get a massage or take a cruise?
3.
Do you have any idea how much that stings?
Will Smith.
What the hell are you?
Your world's gonna end.
In a new film from the director of The Addams Family and Get Shorty. Men in Black. Protecting the Earth from the scum of the universe.
You know how to use these things?
No idea whatsoever.
Forgot how good the intro music is in this intro credit scenes, as we have like the shot of space and we see this little dot going around in the stars. We think it's like an alien spaceship, and then we just find out it's actually just a mosquito flying around, and then one of the mosquitoes hits another mosquito and I think it dies. But then I also forgot that apparently Rick Baker worked on the alien effects for this movie, which is understandable as to why the aliens look so goddamn cool. We see the mosquito flying over a desert highway, and then it flies in front of the moon, and it almost gets smacked by a big rig, but it avoids it. Then it's flying right into the windshield of a van full of illegal immigrants, aka Mexicans, and not the actual aliens at this point in time. But there is one alien actually in the van, but that's besides the point. But yeah, the driver then pulls up, and there's a roadblock by police officers and immigration officers and whatnot. The guy says he's coming back, the driver for the van man says. He's come back from a fishing trip. So the immigration officer's like, hey, let's go check what you found, like what you caught in the back. So he opens up the back of the van door, and it's a bunch of Mexicans in it. He's like, I would have threw this catch back, to be honest with you. I wouldn't have kept a single one of these fish. Then we see Special Agent K, Tommy Lee Jones, pulling up with his co-worker or partner, I guess you could say. I think his name was D in the Men in Black car. And he starts talking to the Mexicans, and he's searching because one of them is supposed to be an alien. He's speaking Spanish to all of them, and the one alien's just kind of like, or Mexican I should say, is just laughing off because he doesn't understand what he's saying. He's talking about beating his face in, and he just understands, like, yeah, this is the one. You don't even understand Spanish, and you're trying to be a Mexican. You're silly. Kay then tells the other Mexicans and the sheriff to go off on their way because they're with Division 6 and they're going to handle this one guy because he's not someone who should be crossing the border, even though none of them should be crossing the border. And then they start walking off in the desert, and then Kay takes a knife and cuts the skin suit, and we see the alien pop out, and we find the alien's name is Mikey. He just got out of alien jail or whatever it was, and they're releasing him early by the sounds of it, but he still can't stay out of trouble even though he just got released. Then the main sheriff comes over the bridge of the hill, and the alien turns his one eye and catches a glance on him. He starts running right towards him, and D's struggling, he can't shoot his gun, and then Kay shoots him, and the alien blows up right in front of the sheriff, and there's slime all over the place, and entrails and whatnot. And then we see the cleanup crew showing up, and Kay tells the sheriff about the nebulizer, I believe it was, and about how they need to look at the red dot, and it wipes their memory clean of everything they just saw. And then Kay says they have to be careful because there was an underground, gas main that almost caused some serious injuries because they're just firing off their guns, and that's a cover-up for the alien incident that just happened. And then Kay sits down with his old partner D. He's going on about how he's going to miss the chase, and then Kay says, no you won't, and wipes his memory clean because he's getting too old to do the job. Then we cut and see Jay running down a suspect as he jumps off an overpass and lands on a bus, and he's like, oh, it's just raining black guys today, huh? Crazy New York City, isn't it? And then he jumps off the bus and chases down this guy who we find out is an alien because he pushes him up against the wall. He starts going on about how the world's going to end soon, and then he has like this alien gun that falls out and breaks on the ground, and then he does like a spin move and gets away from Jay, and then Jay's chasing him down, and then next thing we know, we see the alien guy going up the wall, and Jay's like, what the fuck is going on? So he has to break into the building and run up the floors to try and get to the roof where the alien guy is. He meets him in the doorway, and they have like a standoff, and he's got his gun pointing at him, tells him to freeze, and that's when the guy does a double blink to him, and then he starts saying how everything's going to end, and then his eyes change again, and then he slowly walks to the edge of the building, and then just falls backwards and hits the sidewalk. Then we see this old truck outside of a house, and there's like an old farmhouse, and this is Edgar's home, and he's bitching to his wife Beatrice because apparently she doesn't do anything right. She doesn't cook his meals right and whatnot, and the only thing that works right around here is his truck. And then we see a spaceship actually crash through and destroy the truck, and there's a giant crater in the ground now. And he walks out and he looks around, he's like, yeah, that fucking figures. So he takes his shotgun, goes over to the crash site, points it down at whatever's in the hole, and the alien tells him to drop the weapon, and he's like, you can take this weapon from my dead cold hands. And the alien's like, you know what? Proposal accepted. And then he pulls him down into the ground, and you can just hear him dying and getting murdered because now the alien takes over his body, and he walks into his home and as his alien version of himself, demanding lots of sugar. And then Beatrice is like, your skin's falling off your face. He looks through the mirror, he's like, oh, it is. And he pulls out the back of his head, and it tightens the skin, and Beatrice just falls to the ground and passes out. And then we see Jay being questioned by two other officers that don't believe Jay because he's mentioning how the guy had two sets of eyelids, and they're just laughing it off. Then Jay's getting annoyed because the other cops are pretty much assuming that he threw the guy off the roof. And then they leave the room at one point in time after Jay gets mad, and then the medical examiner Weaver comes in, and she goes on about how she believes him, and I think she might slip him her card just so like he can call her. And then she leaves the room, and then as she's leaving the room for the plexiglass or whatever it is, we see Kay coming in, and he asks her a question quickly, and then he just does the nebulizer thing to wipe her memory clean. She gets her memory wiped a lot in this movie. Then Kay comes in the room, and he's starting to ask questions to Jay because it's just the two of them one-on-one now, and he's like, it wasn't two sets of eyelids, it was gills. He was out of air, actually, to be honest with you. He's an alien. And he's like, well, was there anything else that he told you about? He mentioned about the world ending. He's like, interesting. And then he mentions how they're going to both go off because they need to talk about things. He's like, oh, well, Jay's like, I got some paperwork here to do. And those other two officers come in. He's like, good job doing your paperwork, Jay. It's really good. And he's like, Jay's just like, what just happened there? Then we see the two of them in the car together, and they're going to see Jack Jeeves, who has a pawn shop area, and Jay's like, I know this guy. He doesn't deal with anything other than stolen watches and other stuff like that. He doesn't deal with these alien guns or guns that I saw. And Case is like, yeah, whatever. So Jay's like, just let me handle it. I know the guy. I'll go in and talk to him. So he goes and talks to him, and Jeeves jokes about, yeah, I do this, but I'm also cracked here too. I'm not dealing in any other weapons or anything like that. Just crack. That's when Kay walks in, and you see the expression on Jeeves change. He's like, show him the imports, and he just keeps going on about how he's got nothing to show. And that's when then Kay shoots him in the head, and it just explodes. And then Jay pulls his gun out on Kay, like, freeze, you're under arrest, you just murdered someone. And then that's when Jeeves pops up saying how Kay's an asshole because of how much it hurts for him to grow his head back. And then Jay's just like, what? And then the walls change over, and we see all these space guns coming out of the display cases from behind. And that's when Jay looks confused and points out the gun that he saw, which is, I guess, a very serious alien gun, which is used for a lot of assassinations. And that's a big problem because apparently this Jeeves guy should have been a little bit more careful who he sold the gun to. But Jeeves is like, he looked like a decent guy, to be honest with you. And then we see Jay and Kay sitting down at a Chinese restaurant, and Kay's laughing some stuff off, and they're talking about different stories, or Kay's talking about different stories as Jay's just looking on confused. And then he gives him the MIB card as he's leaving and pretty much tells him to meet him tomorrow for an assessment, essentially. Then we see this pest control guy showing up at Edgar's home, and he's looking for the barn at this cockroach infestation. And Edgar comes in. He's not too happy because this pest control guy's here to kill the cockroaches. And that's when Edgar gets really pissed off to the point where he's like, I want the pest control, or pest taken care of. He grabs the pest control nozzle that the guy has on his back and literally rams it down the guy's throat and just sprays his insides, probably instantly killing him, I would assume. And then we see him taking his broken spaceship and literally pushing it into the back of the pest control van. And then we see Jay showing up to the MIB building. He walks into the lobby, and the guy's like, how can I help you? I got this card. Yeah, elevator. Oh, okay. So he goes into the elevator, and we can see the elevator's going down really fast, and then it opens to his back, and Zed's like, you're late. Come in here and grab a seat. And then we see a bunch of other guys, military guys and whatnot, sitting in these egg-shaped chairs because they're all here to do a test to see which lucky one gets to join the MIBs. And then Jay's like, well, why are we actually here? And the soldier speaks up, to be the best of the very best. That's not exactly the lines, but that essentially is what he says. Anyways, they have to do this written part of the test first, and Jay's trying to rip his booklet open. He actually rips it a little bit, like not the proper way to do it. Then he grabs a pencil, accidentally snaps a pencil in half. Then he tries to find a comfortable spot inside this egg chair to write. Can't get comfortable, so he's like, there's a little end table, or coffee table I should say, in the middle of the floor. I'm just gonna scrape it across the floor like nails on a chalkboard, and I'm gonna make myself comfy to chew this written part of the test. And then we see them all at a door as the alarm's starting to go off, and they all grab their guns and start shooting. But Jay only shoots once, and Zed's like, what the hell happened? And he's like, well, what do you mean? He's like, why'd you shoot the little girl? She's like, well, this guy's got I thought he was like a monster, but he's got like a Kleenex, so he's got like a runny nose. And this guy's hanging off the light, but he's just doing his like pull-ups. And she's got like chemistry books, and she's in the hood, and she's a white girl. So there's definitely something up with her. She's trouble. Then we see Zed talking to Kay, saying, how Jay has some real issues with authority, but Kay still vouches for him. So Zed takes all the other guys to go get their eye test done, and Kay grabs Jay to go off on their own. The eye test is just for the other military guys to get their memories wiped, of course. That's when Kay gives Jay this booklet, or folder I should say, of other UFO evidence that he's taken pictures of, that he's seen of actual aliens, and when the aliens first made touchdown with human race and all that kind of other stuff. Jay starts joking, asking when's the last time Kay had a CAT scan, and Kay's like, well, they're actually relatively like 6 months ago. We gotta do them for the job. We just gotta keep up on them. And then Kay's like, you want some coffee? And Jay's like, nah, I'm good. So they go into the coffee break room, and that's when we see 4 aliens just making coffee and joking around. And Jay's just like, oh, okay. Yes, this is weird. Then we see them sitting on a bench, and Kay's breaking down things for them and saying that most of the aliens of the world actually live right here in New York City because it's the easiest spot for them to blend in. Kay then walks away from Jay to give him some time to think it all over to see if he wants to be a part of the MIB. And Jay actually sits there for a while because it was sunny out when they were first talking, and now the sun's gone down, and now it's actually nighttime. And then we see the next morning Edgar is driving the pest control van down the street somewhere in New York City, and he had to ram the spaceship in there so much that it's like poking up the roof of the one side because it's on an angle. Now we see Jay showing back up at the MIB. He's now decided to take the job, and he decides they're taking the elevator down to the headquarters area with Kay. Kay's already in the elevator waiting for him the whole time, so I'm not sure if he knew he was showing up or he's just assuming that he was going going to show up. And Kay essentially tells Jay, you know, your skills as an officer and whatnot don't mean jack shit here. You're starting from the bottom and you have to work your way back up. We see a bunch of people working dealing with aliens in the customs department. We find out they work on their own. They're not a part of the government. The government doesn't actually know about them. They're literally secret and hidden in the shadows, essentially. Then Kay shows Jay some of the cool gadgets and weapons they have, and then Jay decides to touch this like little ball thing that goes flying all over the place and starts destroying the building. And then Kay catches it with this like baseball glove. He's like, I think he says this is the thing that caused the 1986 blackout. I could be wrong on the date on that one because I was trying to pay attention as much as possible, but sometimes my notes aren't always perfect. They then look at a screen where they're monitoring all the other aliens there, because apparently all the aliens are tracked and monitored. And of course on the screen of TVs we actually see the one and only Rocky himself, Rambo himself, Sylvester Stallone. Not sure if it's from a movie or not, or if it's just a certain clip they made for this. I wasn't paying too much attention, but then Jay's also like, you know, I figured my teacher was an alien too. And I think they pull up another screen and it might be his actual teacher that's still teaching. I could be wrong on that one. Then Zed calls for him and tells him it's time to put on the last suit that he's ever going to put on. Then we have this like short clip of him getting dressed and Zed talking over it and them erasing pretty much his past. He's no longer in the system at all. He's now got a new identity as just Jay, and he's a real life Men in Black agent. We see a guy leaving I think it's the Rosenberg jewelry shop with his cat for the day, and Edgar pulls up in his van watching. He's trying to be like all nonchalant, but he can't get comfy because he's like an alien, doesn't know how to be in a human body, so he's like every time he's moving his body's bones are cracking a bit. We then see an alarm going off in the MIB office, and I believe it's Reggie's trying to leave the area. He's not permitted to leave the area, so it's an issue, so they gotta figure out why he's leaving. So then K and J track him down, pretty much pull him over, and at this point, before that actually, Jay's making fun of the car, and inside the car he's like, don't ever touch the red button, don't ever do it. And then the car goes speeding off, of course. But yeah, I jumped ahead a little bit by accident. We also see the jewelry shop guy showing up at this little diner to meet up with another guy, and we find out they're both aliens and they're both talking in an alien language to each other because they're both the ambassadors from different galaxies meeting up for Orion's belt. Then Edgar sneaks into the restaurant and takes over the spot of as the server because the guy who was serving, he literally rams him into like a shelf or a table underneath. He's like, yeah, he's just on break, I'll take over now, please. But he takes the food out to the two aliens, and the one looks up the jewelry shop owner. He's like, you can kill us, but you'll never find Orion's belt. And he's like, alright, I'll kill you. And he stabs them both in the neck with his like pincers or something. And then he's starting to storm out of the diner, and one of the other guys tries to stop him and just gets tossed around. And then we just see him walking outside on the sidewalk looking all weird and grotesque. And then we see, like I said, now we see Kay pulling over Reggie, asking why he's leaving the island. And we find out in the backseat is his wife, and she's pregnant and getting ready to give birth. So then Kay takes Reggie off to talk to him, and he's like, Jay, you handle this. He's like, well, what am I supposed to do? He's like, just catch it. When it comes out, just catch it. As Kay's talking to Reggie, we see Jay has a tentacle wrapped around him. He's getting pushed up against the car. He's getting smashed on the roof. And then he goes flying, and next thing we know, he has his alien tentacle squid-looking baby, and then it pukes all over him as soon as he's going to be like, it's kind of cute. And then it vomits all over his face. And then they get back in the car, and they're wondering why everyone's trying to leave so quickly. They understand that something is definitely up, but they don't know exactly what's up just at this point in moment. And then we see they looked at a newspaper, and that's when we find out there was a farmer lady saying that she saw an alien. So then K and J show up at Edgar's home because they saw the article in the paper, and Beatrice greets him. He's like, you're not here to make fun of me again, are you? Just like all the other people. And then she invites him in so she can tell them her story, and she gives him some lemonade, and Jay's trying it, and then he spits it back into the glass because it's very disgusting, apparently. And then she mentions that all her husband Edgar wanted once he came back in was a bunch of sugar. And then K and J put their glasses on and wipe her memory. And Kay tells her it was just, some swamp gases coming off the field, and that Edgar actually left with an ex-girlfriend, and that she should, go doll herself up and, get some renovations done in the house and, live her life. Kay goes out and starts testing the ground, and Jay wants one of those memory flasher things, as he says it, or calls it, I should say. And Kay tells him, once you grow up, you'll get one. Don't worry about it, kid. Kay says that the alien is just like a massive cockroach with an attitude issue. And I guess bug aliens are pretty much one of the aliens that you don't want to deal with because they're such an asshole, essentially. And, cockroach just doesn't want to die, so it makes sense. Then we see the jewelry shop store owner body being brought in on a stretcher to the morgue where Weaver's working. And the cat is on top of the body and refuses to leave. And she's like, what's with the cat? He's like, well, it's your problem now. You signed for the body. It's not my problem. We see she's doing the autopsies and she's shocked and asks the body what it is because she's not understanding what's going on because she's feeling inside the body. And I guess there's a lot of the organs and stuff missing and she doesn't know how that would happen. And at this point in time, she's sitting down to do, I'm not sure if she's writing or using a tape recorder, but she's talking about how weird the bodies are. And then Jay and Kay show up and she goes to show them the bodies. And like I said, Dr. Weaver is the girl who came in earlier on to talk to Jay, saying how she believed him, and she's already had her mind wiped once, so I'm not sure what kind of brain damage she's gonna have after this, but oh well. Anyways, then Weaver takes Jay over to one of the bodies and puts her hand in, like, what do you feel? Because they pretend they're being doctors, or I think medical doctors, I believe. And she's like, well, Jay's like, well, everything feels fine. She's like, what do you mean feels fine? All the organs are gone. It's like, well, yeah, like, it feels like there's no pieces left, so that's how it feels fine. Then Weaver says she doesn't think the body is really a body, and she thinks it's a transportation unit for something else. And then Kate calls him over and to talk about things. Then we hear Weaver calling for Jay to come back, and once he does finally go over there, they see that there's like staples on the guy's ears, so they press it, and then the face comes off, and we see an alien inside, and the small little alien's dying, and he's going on about the war for Orion's belt. And to prevent the war, the galaxy is on Orion's belt. And then Kate comes over and sees this an alien, find out the alien is part of this royal family, and that they're going to be in some shit because, it's a royal family alien, dead now, and it's on Earth, so the family's going to think it was them that did the killing. Then, of course, they put the glasses on again, and they're going to wipe her mind for a second time. Poor girl is going to have a lot of brain damage, probably. Then we see the cleanup crew showing up, and Jay wants it to be a nice mind wipe for her. He wants to be in charge of the Flashy because he doesn't want people getting hurt. And Kay's like, no, I'm going to be still in charge. And he tells the cleanup crew, give her a happy new beginning. Just give her a happy one. Then we see Edgar in his pest control vehicle freaking out, trying to open this little ship that he took from the dead jewelry guy's body. He finally gets it open, and all that spills out is actually diamonds and not Orion's belt. And he's even more pissed off at the fact now. We see the guys are back at the MIB, and Zed is looking at Orion's belt, and it's just a collection of 3 stars. And Zed says he's wrong because there's no galaxy in that little collection of 3 stars. There needs to be a lot more stars for it to be in that galaxy. We see Kay using this camera system to sneak a peek at his old wife who's gardening or something like that. And then Zed calls Kay over on the satellite. We see a bunch of aliens trying to get ready to leave the planet, and then we see an Archelian battle cruiser, I butchered that one, showing up, and that's part of the royal alien that just passed away. Zed tells Kay and Jay to go get a weapon, and they have 1 hour to pretty much save the Earth, because if not, the alien race is going to pretty much wipe them all out. And they go and get guns, and Kay grabs his nice big looking gun, and then he gives Jay the little cricket gun, which he's like, I'm going to break this damn thing. Can I get something cooler? You got the cool gun. Can I get something cooler? We then see Edgar breaking into the jewelry shop looking for Orion's belt. He's trashing the place, and then he parks his van illegally. A tow truck is instantly just there because it's New York City, of course, and his van's getting towed, and he goes out. He's like, what are you doing? It's my van. The guy's like, yeah, you're parked illegally. You can tell the impound lot. And he pulls out a shotgun out of the van, and the tow truck driver pulls out a giant revolver. He's like, yeah, I'm not too worried about you, buddy. Don't worry about it. And then Jay and Kay also show up at the same time, and they're going to the jewelry shop, and Jay's like, it's kind of weird for someone to break in, not steal anything. And that's when they hear a gunshot, and then they look over, and we see Edgar getting into the tow truck, and Jay's like, yeah, that's him. And he goes to shoot his gun and goes flying through the jewelry shop, and he tries chasing him down on the street and shoots again, but he shoots the back of the tow truck, which drops the pest control van. And then Kay freaks out. He's like, can't be using these guns out here in public because now everyone sees. So now the cleanup crew has to come and wipe pretty much everyone's mind that's on the sidewalk. And then we see Zed getting mad at the aliens from the back room as they're packing up their stuff, and I think they got some Budweisers, like, see you guys later, we're getting off this planet before everyone dies. And then we see Edgar asking a random person on the street who's got this little pop-up shop, he's like, where you keep your dead? And then he mentions about the morgue, and then we see Jay giving the people this prep talk about their new memory they're going to have, and in case says they need to find help from a pro to, get clues on what's going on with this whole situation. That's when they go to find Frank the pug, who's a talking dog, and they show up, and Jay's like, yeah, he's definitely an alien. Look how creepy he is. And then the pug starts talking. He's like, oh shit, I wasn't expecting that at all. Kay grabs Frank and starts shaking him to try and get answers out of him, and Jay's like, hey, don't worry about it, guys. They're just working on a ventriloquist, setup. It's a fine. Dog goes in money. Don't worry about it. It's no animal abuse. And that's when Frank spills being that Orion's belt is here, but it's a super tiny galaxy. And then they finally let him go, and he goes to go pee down the sidewalk, and that's when he starts barking at a cat that's up on a ledge, and the cat has a collar on with a little ball on it. And that's when Jay finally gets the idea of it's a cat from the morgue. We then cut to Weaver in the morgue doing paperwork, and we see the cat's collar and it says Orion on the collar, and then she notices the galaxy in the ball, and she kind of just loses her mind and gets entranced looking inside the ball. Then we see Edgar showing up at, I guess, like the front desk area of the morgue, and it has a bell, so he keeps ringing it repeatedly. And this guy comes out, and Edgar doesn't like him at all because he's killing the flies and all the other bugs. And that's when the cockroaches come out of Edgar's sleeves, so the guy grabs like bug killing spray, and that really pisses Edgar off to the point where he like lunges at him. We find out later on he's stuck to the ceiling in some like bug guts or saliva, goo, I don't know, slime of some sort. Then we see Jay and Kay showing up to the morgue, and Jay's like, let me handle it, let me go in. The girl doesn't need to have her mind wiped again, because she's going to have some trauma if her mind gets wiped again. And he's trying to save her from having her mind wiped again, because he kind of likes her a little bit. Jay goes in, starts buzzing the bell, no one answers, so he then lets himself in, and we see Jay asking about the cat, and Weaver says she doesn't know where the cat went, but she's trying to give signs that someone's underneath the table that she's standing on or beside that has a sheet over top of it. And of course Jay just thinks it's signs that she wants to sleep with him, and he's like, hey, you gotta slow down a little bit, I'm here to see about the cat first, okay? And then he finally gets a clue, and then that's when the cat jumps down the table. Edgar grabs the cat, rips the collar off of it, and then he grabs Weaver and has her at gunpoint. And then Kay and Jay both pull out their guns because Kay's now there because he witnessed the front desk guy stuck on the ceiling because the slime dropped down on him. And then Edgar takes Weaver and jumps out a window and steals a taxi cab, and he has Orion's collar with him, of course, at this point in time. He then takes Weaver and tells her to drive him to a certain area, and as she's driving him to the area, he actually eats the whole Bell and Galaxy altogether. At this point, they run outside, and Jay knows that Edgar took a cabbie and starts running down the street and runs out the alleyway and runs on the main street, and we just see a bunch of taxi cabs all over the place. He starts trying to search them. That's when we see, I think Kay shows up with the car at that point in time, and then they head back to headquarters, and we find out Zed's putting like a net down over the whole city so no aliens can come in or leave, so they can try and figure out the situation. And that's when the warship shoots another shot and gives them an hour to fix the issue at this point in time. And then Jay notices something and calls Kay and Zed old guys to get the point across, and he's like, hey, do those old ships that you have up on the pillars still work? Because that's probably where he's heading. And then we see the taxi showing up at that exact same shot in the picture, and Edgar's dragging Weaver up by her hair, and he's like, it's a long trip, I'm going to need a snack for when I'm on that. Then we see Kay and Jay in the tunnel, and Kay tells Jay to touch the red button, but you should be buckled in first. And then the car essentially changes into a rocket ship, and of course Jay's not buckled in. The next thing you know, they're driving on the roof of the tunnel, and Jay's upside down in the car trying to get buckled into the seat. And then we see Edgar carrying Weaver up the tower, and Weaver's fighting off, and she's like, I'm a very popular person, I'm special, I'm royalty, my people are going to be very upset with you if you take me, and there's going to be a war. And he's like, good, a war, more people to feed my family. And then we see the guy showing up at the tower. At this point in time, Weaver got off of Edgar's shoulder, and she's now stuck in a tree. But yeah, the guys show up, and they're getting the big guns finally out of the trunk of the car, and we see they have like 8 minutes left to save the Earth. Weaver's now stuck in the tree, like I said, and we see Edgar in one of the old ships, and it's up and running. It's flying over this baseball stadium, and Jay and Kay both shoot their big guns and hit the ship, and the ship comes crashing down right in front of them and slides in the ground right in front of them, and it stops a few feet in front of them. And then once the ship stops, the door opens up, and a pissed off Edgar comes out and stumbles out, and he's like, you guys aren't going to do anything now, it's all over with. And they point their gun at him and tell him he's under arrest in the freeze. And that's when Jay says, put your hands on your head, and he laughs about it, and he puts his hand up on his head, and he actually rips his skin suit off, and now we see this giant cockroach creature. He then grabs both their guns and eats them, and Kay tells Jay to not let him get to the second ship, and Kay's like, well, what are you going to do? Or Jay's like, what are you going to do? He's like, I'm going to go get my gun back. So then Kay goes over and insults Edgar in the cockroach farm to the point where he's screaming at him, telling him to eat him. And, of course, Edgar does it. Edgar eats him whole. And that's when Jay starts insulting Edgar to try and not get him on the second ship. And that's when he's getting tossed around. He tries to fight him off with a tree branch that's on fire. And that's when he gets flinged into a dumpster that's like rotting away. And at one point he's getting up and Edgar's walking away. And he sees cockroaches on his sleeve. So he wipes it off. And then he kicks the dumpster and a bunch of other cockroaches come out of the dumpster. And he steps on one of them. And that finally gets Edgar's attention. And he's like, oh, sorry, was that your auntie? Because if that was your auntie, then this one probably your uncle. He steps on that one. And he steps on a bunch of different cockroaches to get Edgar's attention, and Edgar finally comes back to fight him, and they get face to face with one another, and Jay's like, you don't want any of this, and then we hear a clicking sound, and it's actually Kay inside of Edgar's body, and he finally has his gun back, and he's getting ready, and he blasts it, and we just see Edgar's body explode, and slime and goo goes all over the place. And then after the slime goes all over the place, Jay picks up a ball out of the slime, and it's actually Orion's belt, and there's slime now, and we see Jay saying about how much stuff he had to do to fight off, or Edgar, even though he wasn't really doing much that was effective at all. And at this point in time, the music slowly starts to change, and we see something moving behind them. And then as they're sitting on the ground talking, Edgar actually pops up to eat Jay, because we see, his full-size mouth and everything. And that's when Weaver actually blasts the gun and actually kills Edgar again. And they're just like, oh, shit, she just saved us. Do we have to wipe her memory? Because she just saved us. She's essentially a new agent. Then back at the MIB, Jay wants to convince Kay not to use the flashy thingy on Weaver, and then Kay's like, it's not for her, it's actually for me. He's like, what do you mean? You can't just leave me to fight aliens. He's like, I wasn't training a rookie, I was training someone to replace me, to be honest with you. The stars look so nice up there, so I just want to, just forget about everything. That's when Kay shows Jay the buttons on the nebulizer, which is broken down into days, months, and a year, and that's when he pulls up his glasses and wipes Kay's memory, and then we see newspapers falling down, and it's just a shot of him at a newsstand, because that's how they check for aliens. They check the newspapers in, and that's when we see, I forget what the technical writing was on it, but we see Kay on one of the papers, and it's something about him waking up from a coma and now being with his wife again, and Jay just smiles about it. And then we see Jay and Weaver are now agents working together, and they're getting ready to go out on their case. And then we zoom out of the city, and then we zoom out of the planet and everything, and then we zoom through the space and the galaxy and everything, and then we see the whole galaxy is just like a marble, and another alien's playing with it, and then the credits roll, and the music start playing, and that's the end of the movie. It's a fun movie. I like it a lot. I haven't watched it since I don't know actually the last time. Probably been at least 10 years since I watched it, if not longer. I think it's probably the best one out of I think it's a trio. I think there's 3 of them, and then there's the cartoon as well. I would definitely want to revisit the cartoon. It's been a long time since I watched that, and I noticed it's on the CTV app as well, so I might revisit that. Maybe make that in a couple animated review episodes as well. I'm not sure yet. We'll see. But yeah, definitely recommend this. It's just a fun movie. I don't care what anyone thinks. If you like Will Smith, if you like Tommy Lee Jones, if you like aliens, you like comedy, sci-fi, and all that fun stuff, you should definitely check it out. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen it, so you don't need me bragging about it or giving it, good comments and whatnot. But yeah, definitely highly recommend checking it out. On the Rotten scale, it's an 8.5 out of 10 for me. And yeah, which brings us to our movie we're going to watch next week. Next week, we're going to watch a movie that I've actually never seen, that I've been wanting to see for a while. I'm not sure if it's good or not. I haven't looked at the reviews on it at all, which is fine. That's usually how I like to roll on things anyways. We're going to watch a movie from 2017, which is a horror action comedy, and it's called Mayhem. And I've wanted to watch it for a while now, so hopefully it lives up to the hype in my head, because I've seen a couple shots of it. But like I said, I've never seen it. So let's see how that goes next week. You can actually watch it for free on Tubi, so that's fun too. So that gives you guys plenty of time to watch it beforehand. Of course, like I said, I used to watch a lot of things on Tubi. I still do. I just haven't been lately. I've been watching stuff all over the place lately. But it's a fun free app. You just have ads to watch every now and then, but still it's free movies, and there's a lot of hard to find movies on Tubi and a lot of weird horror movies on Tubi. So I highly recommend checking out Tubi. If Tubi wants to sponsor this podcast, that'd be pretty cool. I'm not going to hold you to it though, but just saying, if you want to, the offer's there. But yeah, as always, I thank you all for listening to this far. I don't know why you guys listen to me ramble, but I appreciate it a lot. And as always, you can find me on all social medias at Typhonstein. The main ones being Facebook, Instagram, and the main one being right now is I'm pushing for that YouTube channel a lot. I'm doing shorts on there all the time, and I appreciate all the support on that. I see the subscribers going up a lot. I see the view times going up a lot, and I appreciate it. So if you guys are listeners, thank you very much. I post art videos on there. I post Let's Play videos on there. I post the podcast on there. I'm doing the older episodes on there. So definitely check that stuff out if you guys want to. I appreciate it a lot. That's where I'm going to be doing a lot of my artwork is going up on there, so I appreciate that as well. Also check out the outro band, Blood Opera, a Toronto-based horror band. Their links will be down below as well. You can find them on SoundCloud, Instagram,
YouTube, Facebook, and probably a bunch of other places as well. Definitely check them out. Pretty cool guys, great band, and yeah, as always, I'll talk to you guys all later. Peace.
Whisper in the classroom, the writing on the wall. What's blood for, if not for the shedding?
You used to play that childhood game, didn't you? The one where we changed